Today we're reviewing the last installment in the Realmgate Wars. This is the Allgate Saga, a new 304-page supplement book, sort of, from Games Workshop.
Spiky bits. Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
So here it is, book 4 of the Realmgate Wars. Now this is, like I said, the latest installment. You can see it here on the spine. All of the books are up on Games Workshop site. You can pick up, I think they have a slight discount on the complete collection. This one's a 304-page book. It retails for $65 US here in the States. It's a great, great quality book. It's got the awesome embossing that we've come to expect. The full bleed artwork. All the hardcover goodness in here. It is printed in China, but like I said, printing is printing. It doesn't really matter where it's at. It's it's just you do it right or you do it wrong. You can't really mess that up, so to speak, right? So you crack the book and just at first cursory look, you got the great overleaf here, which is they always do like a kind of like a shade of like a big pitched battle of some sort. This looks like one of the bloodbound battles here. I think that's the one where they're trying to free the one God Beast. Now this is book 4. It does come right after God Beast, which is all the crazy like worms that are kind of inside, or drakes, dragonkin, so to speak, that are inside the realms and kind of starting to either under control of chaos, or they're Sigmar's forces are basically trying to get them, enlist their aid, or take them over forcefully and bind them to do their bidding. Of course, only using their powers for good, right? So like I said, lavish artwork in here. There's the Ariel that we saw a few weeks ago and everybody went batshit crazy over. So, and of course, you got your little over leaflets here that basically explaining the story about what's going on. As far as the actual contents of the book, like I said, it is a $65 hardcover book. Over 300 pages. It's a great. If you're building your Age of Sigmar armies and you want to follow along with the story, because this is basically what happens before the Season of War, the basic conclusion to it. So like basically now chaos is kind of, spoiler alert, got pushed back. Obviously that's the whole aim of the whole Age of Sigmar saga up to this point. So chaos is getting pushed back and now they're starting to like kind of settle it, and that's kind of what's going on in the Season of War. A global campaign is about to kick off here in July. So it's kind of setting the groundwork for where we're at right now in the storyline, which is always cool to see a progressing storyline, I feel like, right? As far as contents go, like I said, it's a 304-page book. Now, they've got some interesting stuff in here. They got 4 new Time of War sections in here. So it's basically like, those are the rules, like your campaign sagas. Like they kind of, or they basically add a little bit to your games. Like if you're trying to recreate or reenact or replay these particular battles that are contained in here, then those kind of help you and supplement your gaming experience, basically. And they vary in rules, and we'll definitely cover those here shortly. There's 11 new battle plans as well for playing specific missions, basically. So if you want to do like an overall campaign, that's kind of where the Time of War overall rules kind of come in. And then the battle plans are actual like physical battles, like this battle here and this battle here happened. There's 6 paint guides in here, which we'll kind of flip through. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on. They are a great value. Obviously, Games Workshop sells them for anywhere from $3 to $5 on their site for each individual one, generally. So that's a good value. 22 War Scrolls are packed in here, along with, which are basically what they call the Legends of War section. It's all stuff we've seen in the past. What we haven't seen in the past is this new section here of War Scroll Battalions, which are basically like formations for Age of Sigmar, for those of you that might be unfamiliar with that term. Now, each one of these sections here covers a specific battle, or to try to take a specific gate. You got the Genesis Gate, the Mercurial Gate, which is like the liquid metal kind of plane, then the Maw Gate, which is the Orcs, and the Arc of Flame. So basically, it centers on like 4 big thrusts trying to take the gate here, and it kind of alludes to other things going on at all the other gates. The other 7 gates total. So I guess the other 3 rather. So it's really good, and then in here is splashed in a lot of content. Like they'll talk about kind of like an intro, like for here, instance, you got basically your intro into the section. Then it gives you rules. Then it gives you specific battle plans for playing the missions that are happening basically at the Genesis Gate, right? Then it goes into more fluff, and then it comes up on another battle right here. And then it goes into some painting guides and stuff. More fluff right here, Wrath of the Everqueen. Then it goes into another battle, right? So that's kind of like the standard for each one of these sections until it gets up to the actual rule sections here, and then the battalion sections is of course the 4-page rules in the back, and a new section, the Dramatis Personae, which is basically just kind of telling you who's doing what, where, when, how, and how they figure into all this. So these are your basically like your special characters of this Age of Sigmar saga. So like I said, this book, it isn't necessarily something for new rules. It's more for people following along with the fluff of Age of Sigmar and want to recreate those battles. So it's more of a campaign kind of type deal, right? So let's take a quick look through the first section here, like the Genesis Gate stuff, right? So we'll start on page 20, and you kind of see how they lay it out. So this is basically setting the stage for the 3 other books, like I said, the Storm of War, and then it opens up, here at the all points, and then they kind of get into that's kind of your overview, and now it kind of gets into the battle for Genesis Gate, which, great looking art, some cool stuff in here. I love these overviews, like of the battlefield, and they kind of give you a feel for what section of the realm it's happening in, and so you can kind of visualize it as you read the stories. And then it gets into all the stories right here, talking about Ariel Reborn, etc., etc. And then it gets, so that's all your fluff section, and like basically what's going on, etc., etc. Then it gets into the Time of War, and that's what I was talking about, where you actually get rules for playing the campaign sagas. And this particular Time of War section, and we're going to get to all of them, is a trait system that you can get for your generals. So you can roll it up. It's a D66, 10s and 1s, and you basically roll here, and that's what you can have for the length of your campaign, which I thought was pretty neat. And then it goes into the setting up basically what's going on in this particular mission for the battle plan, and then it gets into the battle plan itself right there, and then it goes into another story. So it kind of like advances, but they're all talking about, basically this one section right here, like all of this stuff's happening right here, and there's 4 sections of that in here. So let's jump ahead. Oh, and then there's some paint guides, and they're kind of sporadic. So let's see if, and then they mix in like here's the painting guide right here. And I really like these, and it's really cool because like you're starting to visualize, and it's almost like they do this on purpose, because you're starting to visualize what's going on in the battlefield and everything like that when they give you all these great graphics, and then they're like, or great pictures. So like, here, okay, set up your battle, right? Oh, here's some terrain, here's how to paint some terrain, here's how to paint your guys, right? So it's kind of, it all plays off of each other in our, our hobby minds right here, and I think it's really neat how they do it. So then that basically is how each section goes, and it goes all through right here, and then it gets into another section, which is the next Time of War section, somewhere up in here. So this is the one where it's the Realm of Fire, and well, we missed a section, but anyway, so you can kind of see what they do. They kind of start mixing it in. There's 4 big sections like this. So getting to actual rules, the next Time of War rules section is on page 116, where they give you rules for basically reconfiguring your dreadholds in game. And there's also a new magic spell that you can take for wizards with the Zinch keyword. Now, the Games Workshop's website, and I was really puzzled by this, is they say that there's new spells in here that any wizard could use. I couldn't find them. If you know where they are in here, please drop it in the comments, because I searched this book, I couldn't find it anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of pages to cover when I'm just skimming it over and reading the actual content section, and not necessarily the I guess what would you call it, more of the like lore and the background, the fluff. So I wasn't reading a whole lot of that, so it might be kind of hidden, because that's kind of what they do with these books. So there's the one spell that I could find, and some more rules right there. And the next rules section is on page 134, the next Time of War section. And this is starting to deal with the orcs, and they're fighting in for the Maw Gate, which is Oh, here's another how to paint your terrain painting guide right here, which looks pretty fresh. And then here's another battle plan. Here's the Time of War section. Now, Regiments of Renowned, if you played Fantasy, you probably know there was a ton of those guys, and they all had like special abilities, and that's kind of what they're bringing to the table here. Like, you can roll on certain charts depending on what type of unit you have. If you're recreating these campaigns, or even in your own campaign, these would be great special abilities to roll on after every battle for your unit. So it kind of gives you a little bit more fluff in here to kind of add to your games, because not everybody wants to play Age of Sigmar competitively, but some people want to play it competitively, but in a campaign setting. But either way, these are perfect for that. So you've got your general command traits in the beginning, which are basically like your warlord traits for 40k. And now you've got additional abilities and such here that you can roll on after each game. And then on page 212, there's even more rules. Yay, we love rules. And there's another painting guide right there. Here they are. So this is for the Brimfire Gate, which is where basically Sigmar's Stormcast, of course, and the Durin, the dwarves, are fighting, right? So they give you some special rules in here, like about Scarbrand, some stuff about lightning blessed weapons to where you can basically activate them, and they add 1 damage inflicted by the attack if it's used by a Stormcast Eternal hero or prime. Okay, so it's not everybody out there that can do it. And then they're talking about using the Solar Drake, because they're basically trying to bind him to use him to fight. So you got some stuff right there as well, and then some Stormcaller abilities as well. So that was all the actual rules I could find in here that were new for doing campaigns and things. And then it goes through all 4 of those sections. Remember, we talked about that right here. These are your 4 sections dealing with each battle at each one of these gates, and they name it a little something different, but that's basically what it is. And then we get to the Legends of War section, which are the war scrolls for some of the basically the special characters in the storyline here. So they're all in here, and this is all stuff we've seen in the past. This isn't anything that's new. It's all basically reprints. Of course, they're brand new this week for Sylvaneth releases. And then we get to the back, and that's where there's new battalions, which are basically like the formations, which are pretty dope, right? So you got the Stormcast Eternals get one, where a Knight Venator or the Knight Azeros guy, that's the guy with the little crazy bow and arrow and the little hawk thing right there, and 2 to 3 units of prosecutors can get some abilities. So you can immediately move this unit being rolled for up to a total number of inches right here. In your hero phase, roll 3 dice for this for each unit from this battalion. So moving quick in the hero phase before you basically get to the movement phase is pretty dope. The orcs can do it, and they can get stuck in pretty quick. These guys being able to shoot and move fast is pretty good ability right there. Hit and run, units from this hunt team can retreat and charge in the same turn, which normally you don't really see happening. Remember, retreat in Age of Sigmar is something you can just do. You don't have to basically test for it, as long as you can move all your models from 3 inches away from an enemy. Even if you're within a half an inch, you're basically in combat. You're never locked in combat. You can just leave. There's no detractor to doing it, no getting hit in the back or anything like that. Just the fact that you have to physically be able to move your models, very similar to hit and run. In order to get away, you can, but normally you can't normally you can't launch an assault or shoot after you perform a retreat action. Just throwing it out there. That's pretty good. The Skaven Castle Rot Wreckers is, of course, Skaven's part of Chaos now, because Slaanesh is on the lam. So 1 Vermin Lord Corruptor, 1 Plague Priest, 3 Plague Furnaces, and 2 to 4 units of any combination here, Plague Monks or Clan Rats. They can burrow unseen, which basically they can, instead of setting up the Castle Rot Wrecker unit on the battlefield, you can place it to one side. Say it's underground, kind of like the Magma Cave thing that the Dordan can do. In any of your movement phase, you can move the unit onto the battlefield as it emerges from below ground. And when you do so, you have to set it up more than 9 inches away from enemy models. That is their move for the movement phase. So very similar to, basically it's Age of Sigmar's version of deep striking. Sometimes they say you can't do anything, you can't perform any more actions. Sometimes they say you can't perform any more movement. So it's very important to always read that last sentence there. Maim, Capture, and Prey Chief, when they're deployed to penetrate enemy fortifications and eliminate the commander of the garrison, add 1 to the rolls for any attacks, wound rolls to any attacks made by this Castle Rot Wrecker models that target the enemy general. So that's pretty cool. So they can kind of come out of nowhere and just go after Decapitating Strike, go after the general there. For the Knurl Demons, of course, the army, I play demons because, of course, well, they're on round bases and they're for 40k and fantasy, and they're already painted, excuse me, Age of Sigmar. So, of course, I'm going to play some demons in the new Age of Sigmar here. And, of course, I got a lot of Nurgle ones, so I'm always checking those ones out. So this is a 1 grade uncleed one, 3 units of Plague Bears, 3 units of Plague Drones, and 3 units of Nurglings. And what this does is basically in your hero phase, roll a dice for any model within 7 inches of this battalion's grade unclean one. There's a lot of battalions that revolve around grade unclean ones, or at least 2 that I can think of. On a 6, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound. So kind of like the whole little Nurgle corruption thing. And Pox Behemoth is, this battalion's grade unclean one has a save characteristic of 2 up, which is super dope. Instead of 4, however, attacks against it that have the 2 wound roll of 2 or 3, it is reduced down to 3 instead. I'll take that all day, for sure. For order, it looks like there's a little combo kind of thing right here where it lets you get some of the Stormcast and some of the Sylvaneth themselves. So 1 to 3 Knights Venator, 2 to 3 units of Prosecutors, 1 to 3 units chosen from True Lord Ancients or Tree Lords, and 2 to 3 units of Kurnoth Hunters. In your hero phase, pick an enemy unit within 15 inches of the Celestant Prime. Any units from the Cleanser Woods that are within 15 inches of the enemy unit you picked may immediately make a shooting attack against it, which is pretty dope for the Kurnoth Hunters. Those guys are super good shooting-wise, right? Fire Slayers, they got the Underborers. Of course, these guys are going to use their magma tunnels. So 1 Ulrich Rune Master, 3+ units chosen from either Rune Smiter on Magma Droth, or 2 to 4 units chosen from Ulrich Hearthguard or Hearthguard Berserkers. So of course they got the normal magma tunnel rule where you can basically pop them up, set them up anywhere within 9 inches of any models, and that is their move for the movement phase. Eruption of Lava actually does damage when they appears. After setting them up, roll a dice for any enemy units within 12. On a roll of 3 or more, the unit being rolled for suffers D3 mortal wounds. Mortal wounds are pretty much like the D weapons of Age of Sigmar. They do the Lord's work. You cannot save against them. You don't even have to roll a hit. You don't even have to roll a wound. You just say, hey, this is happening, this is how many it is, and then the enemy has to allocate them out to their squad. And then basically, unless there's some other way to get around it, which doesn't generally happen, they're just taking those wounds. It's pretty brutal. But there's a lot of big stuff out there. There's a lot of models, so it kind of keeps things even-handed, so to speak. Stormcast Eternals got their own battalion here, Hammer and Anvil. It's a 1 Lord Celestin, 1 to 2 units from Retributors or Decimators, 2 units of Liberators, 2 units of Adjudicators, and their abilities is covering fire. At the start of your hero phase, any Judicator units from this battalion that are within 9 inches of a Liberated unit from the same battalion can immediately make a shooting attack as if it were the shooting phase. Very cool stuff right there. Then there's another Fire Slayer battalion here, which is 3 units, which is basically just, you know, the big Magma Droth dudes right here, and they have a special attack called the Massed Fire Stream. In your hero phase, pick an enemy unit, roll a d3 for each model from this battalion is within 15 inches of it, or a d6 if they're within 5. Target unit suffers that number of mortal wounds equal to the amount rolled. Wow. Alright, and they can still use their normal Roaring Firestorm ability in the subsequent shooting phase. So if that doesn't get you to buy 3 of those $130 kits, I don't know what will. Slaves to Darkness, we got some Chaos up in the house. 1 Sorcerer Lord of Tzeentch, 2 to 3 units of Tzeentch Chaos Warriors, and 1 to 2 units of Tzeentch Chaos Knights. Some of my favorites right there. They get to, in the hero phase, roll 1 dice for each unit of Iron Guard Chaos Warriors and 2 dice for each of the Chaos Knights. You immediately move the unit being rolled for up to that total number rolled in inches. So again, some great maneuvering ability for those guys right here. And the Orruk side, they got the basically like their super knob squad right here, which is 5 units chosen from any combination of the following: Mega Boss on Maw Crusher or just Mega Boss. Any other friendly Iron Jaws units can make 1 extra attack with each of the melee weapons if they're within 10 inches of at least 2 models from the Mega Fist while they are chosen to attack in a combat phase. Well, let me tell you what, you don't want to get anywhere near that right there, or you will get ripped to shreds. Carrying on. Stormcast Eternal Storm Strikes team, another great battalion here for the good guys of Age of Sigmar here. So you got 1 Knight Azeros or a Venator, 2 to 3 units of Prosecutors, 2 to 4 units of Liberators or Retributors, and their abilities, they actually got some nifty stuff here. So any of the weapons wielded by keyword Stormcast Eternal heroes or prime models from the strike team are charged with celestial energy. Add 1 to any wound rolls you make for these models. So it's basically kind of like that friendly rule that's in this book here, except for it's applied here, so it's basically official, you know, competitively or whatever you want to call it. Storm Strike attack. Instead of setting up any units of Liberators or Retributors from the Storm Strike team on the battlefield, you can place them on one side and say they're set up in the Celestial Realm, and basically you can set them up within 12 inches but no closer than 6 to a unit that was the target of the Storm Strike team's model's shooting attack. This is their move for the ensuing movement phase. So basically, pick something you want to pick on and pick on it a lot. Fire Slayers right here, Subterranean Fire Storm, using another great battalion using the Magma Tunnel ability here. So 1 Rune Master, 1 to 3 Grimwraith Berserkers, and 2 to 3 units of Hearthguard Berserkers coming at you up through the tunnels, setting up 9 inches away for their movement phase. Now, the Empowered Urgold, or your gold, we're coming for your gold. In a battle round in which the Subterranean Firestorm is set up via Magma Tunnels, you can reroll failed charge rolls for that unit and reroll failed to hit rolls when making attacks with their melee weapon. So, no really detractions to taking that, and then it gets to the 4 pages of Age of Sigmar rules right there, and that's all she wrote, folks. That is the brand new supplement, the last in the series for the Allgate Saga, I would imagine, book 4 right there. So thanks for checking it out here today. Now we will be reviewing the Sylvaneth Order Battle Tome a little bit more in depth, because it's actually probably the best one they put out yet. So be looking for that here in the near future, as well as some great features on starting to play Age of Sigmar 2, or maybe we'll do a feature on comparing it to 40k and what's the differences between the two.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.